There's a new term out there, Kidulting. It's when adults find comfort in things from their past. But not just listening to music or watching movies from their past. Take it a step further. Actually collecting those physical items from their childhood, like toys, clothing, video games. The actual items that made their childhood fun, or that spark a comforting memory. And doctors have done studies on this phenomenon, and the results will surprise you. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel, and if vintage toys and their history interest you, you're in the right place, so hit that subscribe button for more. So, Kidulting. It seems like a marketing term that an ad agency came up with to sell more things. And that's pretty much not far from the truth.
New from Kenner.
You see, it's marketing people that came up with terms like Gen X, Gen Z, Millennials, to categorize people into groups and how to sell things to them. But why are adults buying toys for themselves in the first place? And not just vintage toys, toys that are being produced today from companies that are marketing to adults that have adult price points.
$2,000 for an action figure? Hell yeah, bro, it's an exclusive.
And yes, I've bought action figures for more than that price. It's a crazy market, with reports saying that in 2024 alone, adults were the #1 consumer of toys in that market, buying more than 1.5 billion worth of toys in Q1 alone. And with overall toy sales for kids going down year over year, it's the adult toy market and adult toy collector that stabilizes it. And a US survey says that 43% of the average American adult bought a toy from themselves within the past year, with the toy collectible market gaining 5% year after year, with Lego leading the pack among adult buyers. And I'm specifically focusing on Q1 results because of how the holiday buying seasons always push up sales and skew the numbers. Now, a lot of the toys that adults are buying are reboots from brands that have existed for decades. Brands like Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Masters of the Universe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, Lego, the list goes on and on. Or toys that were popular in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, but still having that brand appeal when new items are rolled out, especially when updated IP is introduced. Take the Star Wars franchise. When a new show drops, Hasbro kicks out new toys, and the majority of the toys are marketing to adults and not kids. Even though George Lucas has always said that Star Wars was for 12-year-old boys. But there are definitely two separate market segments, and you can see this every time you go to the store. When you walk down the toy aisle of stores like Walmart or Target, those shelf spaces are reserved for the toy marketing to kids, with a small percentage of that shelf space reserved for toys marketing to adults. But ever since the internet took over, shopping online has become king. And adults who have the money to spend on toys prefer shopping online. And rather than toy companies who cater to adults having to ship to a third-party store or their own stores, the online direct-to-consumer business model made it possible for deluxe toys of this nature with the adult collector in mind to thrive and for reasonable price points. But what's the psychology behind all of this? Why are adults driving the toy market these days? When I was a kid, it was the opposite. Kids were dictating what was hot and what was not. It's not just as simple as adults having the money to spend on things. These are devout collectors. They have online groups. They go to conventions. They have entire rooms devoted to toy collecting. And some of them have YouTube channels. Like and subscribe. So take me for instance. I loved getting Star Wars toys when I was a kid. In fact, that's all my parents really bought me for toys. Even though I had a couple He-Man figures, Transformers, and I had a Voltron, I loved playing with all my toys. In fact, I remember putting on the Star Wars read-along record when I actually played with my Star Wars toys. It just set the mood.
You will know it is time to turn the page when you hear R2-D2 beep like this.
It was a magical time in my childhood. I outgrew playing with toys by the time I hit 10 or 11. By then, I was playing sports, riding bikes, riding skateboards, or playing video games. But when I got interested in girls and dating, forget it. No more toys. Toys were the last thing that I thought about. But I did keep all my Star Wars toys up in a box in my closet. I could not get rid of those. And I remember all throughout high school making sure that box of Star Wars toys was still there and nobody messed with it. And then when I moved away to college, that box came with me. And it wasn't about until 2021 where I finally got that box out and I decided it's time to collect them all. And that's exactly what I did. And why did I do that? Was it simply nostalgia for me? It was me going back to a time that I remembered and a time that did have purpose for me and a lot of meaning for me, and a time that was simpler. It was a time that gave me the best memories and feelings that I can't explain. It's like a warm blanket that just comforts you, or a glass of hot cocoa, or taking a hot shower after you get out of rain-soaked clothes. It just soothes your entire soul. That's what collecting vintage toys from my childhood was to me. But it turns out, I'm not the only one. In fact, there are millions, if not billions, of other people out there that are exactly like me. So we come back to the word Kidulting. And researchers found that millennials and Gen Z are turning to toys from their past as comfort and support in times of stress. And just for the record, I'm Gen X, and I still do that. So you can probably include Gen X with that. I know, marketing terms, right? So from that, they coined this term, Kidulting. And there are a few social media posts flying around out there saying that the University of London did a study of adults and how they cope with stress. And the posts say that they turn to toys and sentimental objects from their past to deal with stress. And although I tried hard to find that research paper, there is nothing out there proving that study is real or peer-reviewed to back that up. So just a small lesson, if you see a post online that's saying research says X, Y, and Z, always look for a source, because half the time, if not more than that, it's just people making stuff up. But I will say this, there are many books and research papers that go over the psychology of adult toy collecting and why people collect. And some quotes from books that I've read may help leave some insights. In consumer psychology, possessions help express who we are. For many collectors, toys aren't just trinkets. They're part of the extended self. I know that may sound deep, but it's true. And collecting is often intense and organized. What sociologist Robert Stebbins says, serious leisure, a fulfilling pursuit of skills, community, and a sense of progress. Museum scholar Ruth Formanek found collectors are driven by curiosity, social contact, and a search for personal stability. And that thinking fits perfectly into adult collecting rooms, discovery, community, and a calm, ordered space. And nostalgia isn't just warm fuzzies. Research shows that we prefer objects from our formative years, and that nostalgia can boost meaning and social connectedness. But no matter what, comfort matters at any age, especially mental comfort. Studies show that the bond with a cherished object, as simple as a teddy bear, can soothe stress and steady emotions even after the toughest of moments. But the connecting thread to all these studies and books are comfort and being connected to something. And although I love to understand why people do what they do, everyone is different. And the reasons why I love to collect, first, it gave me a hobby that I could escape to after a long, hard day. Second, it allowed me to connect with objects from my past that were a great part of my life and brought me joy from a simpler time. And three, and I think the most important part, this hobby brought me in contact with like-minded people who feel the same way I do, even though our reasons might be from a different point of view. But for whatever reason that you collect toys, whether they're from the vintage era that you love or that you grew up in, or brand new toys from companies who make awesome pieces to collect, or you're just a fan of a franchise, or just plain love playing with toys as an adult, take a moment right now just to realize why you do it. Maybe none of you have thought about it, but I think the answers that you do come up with will be insightful, at least in getting to know who you are. And as long as you're doing it responsibly, keep doing it. I would love to hear what you think about this down there in the comments and tell us your story. And please give this video a like. It really helps out my channel. And to help support this channel further, become a member right here on YouTube or a member on my Patreon page. My supporters really make these videos happen. And for more content about vintage toys and their history, click the videos on your screen now. And as always, my friends, thank you, and I will see you next time.